Beauty, I think, means just, it's different for everybody. Everybody's got their own definition of what beauty is. What might work for one person may not work for the other person. And so just, again, keeping it individualized as much as I can for my treatments with them to make sure that I'm helping them meet their goals and just feeling comfortable and confident in their own body, in their own skin.
Welcome to the Beauty Talk podcast, where we feature how the best medical practitioners help their patients to look better, younger, and healthier. Now, enjoy the show, and here's your host.
Daniel Gao here. I'm the host of Beauty Talk. We feature the top medical practitioners in health and beauty, both inside and out. I have Zach Meyer, a board-certified nurse practitioner and the medical aesthetics professional and founder of Edged Medical Spa. They are the only mobile medical spa in the region. With a strong clinical background and a heart for patient-centered care, he specializes in natural-looking injectables and IV therapy, helping patients feel confident, restored, and truly cared for. Zach is known for blending medical excellence with a compassionate, faith-led approach that sets Edged apart. They focus also on Neocutis skincare products and have organic health supplements and weight health. So Zach, welcome and glad to have you here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so let's start off at the very top level. How did you first get interested in the medical field?
Grew up with parents that were in EMS work. And so kind of from there, my interest in biology kind of took over and graduated from my undergrad and then went back to an accelerated nursing program because I wanted to do something in the medical field. And that seemed to have the best job opportunities, ability to kind of move around if wanted for doing different jobs. And eventually got talked back into going to my master's program for my nurse practitioner. So I've been in healthcare now for a little over 11 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. So what made you transition over to the aesthetic side? What about aesthetics really attracted you to it?
I like the component of how you're kind of able to actually help people with certain other kind of, pain, discomfort. I like kind of that aspect of, primarily. So being able to help people with like jaw pain, tenderness and tightness in their neck and kind of in the trap area, the excessive sweating, that seemed really cool to do in a fairly non-invasive way to do it. And then obviously just with kind of the aesthetics portion of it, softening wrinkles and stuff like that as we age, has been really fun to kind of see those really cool transformations with some of my clients to just kind of, see what a little bit of toxin can do and just helping them feel their best. And so that's kind of what really brought me into it. Kind of got talked into it actually by a chiropractor that I was seeing for my horrible back pain when I was just about done with schooling. And she's like, have you ever thought about doing, Botox? And I was like, no. She's like, you should really look into it. I'd love to have somebody in my clinic here to kind of help me out, to kind of refer people for, the TMJ and some of the other stuff that I know you could help me out that my clients are looking for. And so kind of just started researching what toxins were all about and kind of just took over my interest. I enjoy, learning something new, definitely outside of my wheelhouse for sure. Not something I really actually saw myself ever doing, just because I don't, personally, I don't care what my skin looks like, just being a male. But it's really fun and cool to just kind of see what you can do with all the different things as well within the aesthetics to make people feel their best, look their best, and just kind of give them their confidence back as they age and go from there. So.
Right. Okay. So you mentioned that you were working for other practices before. So what led you to decide to start your own practice?
Yeah, so I was at that clinic for about 3 months when we first opened. I work full time in a heart hospital here in Sioux Falls as well. And so on my days off, I just kind of felt like I always had to be there. And it just became more of a burden. Then they brought somebody else in that kind of focused more on the weight loss portion of it, but also did injectables and stuff like that. So I felt at that time it didn't really make sense for me to be there. And so at kind of about that 3-month mark is when I decided to kind of just move off on my own. And that's kind of where the whole mobile services started coming about because I didn't have an office space and we tried to start this business as debt-free as we could without much overhead. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of how we transitioned into moving out on our own then at that point.
Got it. Okay. Now you have your own practice. I want to talk a little bit more about the common treatments that you provide to your clients.
Mhm.
What would you say is the most common treatments that your clients come to you for?
Right now, just neurotoxin. I've been focusing, just trying to get really good at that. Eventually, I'm getting more training here to do fillers and stuff like that. We actually just had a phone call last night with a laser rep to kind of start looking at doing some of that stuff. So we're, looking to bring more stuff in. But primarily right now, just neurotoxins is what I primarily focus on. Just with it being me, the only person that does injections, I don't have any employees or staff. So, and again, with this just kind of being on my side, gig here, it's just focusing and getting really good at one thing and then kind of just slowly building up my practice over time, just kind of letting it happen more naturally. So I've been doing primarily just the neurotoxin injections for the last like 2.5 years.
Got it. Okay. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about the personalized options that you provide to your clients, because I think sometimes some clients, some patients feel like they're out of other options, or maybe they need to hit a minimum with another practice. So, talk a little bit more about the importance of personalizing options for your clients.
Yeah, so obviously any new client that comes in, we sit down and go through an entire, intake and get health history and then sit down and, try to talk about what are their goals, what do they want to see happen. Right now, primarily, most of them are just coming for, I'm tired of these wrinkles around my eyebrows and my forehead. I want to get those taken away. And then a lot of times they've got complaints, with the bags under the eyes and stuff like that. So working with them between talking about what neurotoxin can do for them as far as the wrinkles go, and then also bringing on our skincare product that we get through NeoCutis. I really enjoy those products. And so working with them to show like, we can work with the wrinkles with the toxin. And then if you're looking for like getting rid of some of the bagginess and some of the darkness under the eyes, we've got good skincare products. So kind of doing that combination approach and kind of just giving them the options of how can we go about developing the best plan for them to help with what their goals are. And so I try to keep it very non-pressurized. I'm not here trying to force things upon them, give them the best options that they can, and then just allow them to make that decision.
Mm,
Uh, I've had, consults where they come in and, I talk about everything and they're still kind of hesitant about even proceeding forward with any sort of injections. So even at that point, I'm like, if you need more time, please just think about it, come back. I'm the same way. When something new is presented to me, I have a hard time trying to make an immediate decision. So like, I'm completely comfortable with my clients just taking their time, making sure that what they want to do is what's best for them and that they truly want to go forward with it before we even do any sort of injection.
okay. And how would you approach it if someone comes to you? I'm sure you've gotten this before. If someone comes to you with unrealistic expectations, I'm sure they come into you like, "Oh, I saw this on Instagram. I saw this on TikTok. He make me look this way," and it's very unrealistic. Like, what do you do
Yeah.
in situations like that?
I'm very honest with them. I always tell them like what you see online may not be the exact thing that you should be doing, versus it too being if I've never ever injected that type of thing, like I'm going to be honest and be like, I'm not really comfortable doing that with you. I'm not comfortable having, just a lot of units everywhere, like I make sure that they understand that where my kind of cutoff is, because I want to be as safe as possible. And so making sure that they understand why I may not want to proceed doing something that they've seen or, isn't something that, is standard, then I've got no problem telling them, look, I may not be your guy. So if you want to find somebody else that's willing to do that, by all means, please do.
Okay, got it. Now, I also know that you have a mobile model. So can you talk a little
Mhm.
bit more about that? I think for when people think about medical spa, it's a brick and mortar location. You have a mobile model. So explain kind of what led you to set up the mobile model and what have you found being mobile?
Yeah. We, like I said, when we transitioned out of that clinic after 3 months, like we didn't really have any brick and mortar, and so we really wanted to find a way to, continue to offer services to people. So we kind of went to more of that mobile side of things, much like doing like a Botox party where you go and have a bunch of people there. kind of similar thing of just, going to their house and, I bring my setup. I've got, a tray table. I've got everything I've got to do to make it clean as and sterile as possible. And just doing it in the comfort of their own home has actually been kind of one of the biggest things that most have kind of raved about is, I've had a gal that she, had her kids home for the day and she wasn't be able to find time to come there with trying to find a babysitter. So being able to offer the services to them in the comfort of their own home and just allowing them to not have to worry about finding a babysitter or something like that has been really cool. And again, once we kind of get further down the line with them where I've seen them a few times now, it takes maybe 20-30 minutes to just go in, get set up, get things going, and then get them injected, and then I'm on my way. So that's kind of what has led us to the more mobile side of things. So I've got everything I need in a bag, and then I bring all my tray table and bring my iPad for my documentation and photos if needed on my recording or my charting system that I've got. So it's been really cool. We do probably maybe a little over 50% of services mobile, just because people want to just stay where they're at, have me come to them, and then they can kind of go about their day. So.
Got it. Okay. Now, I want to switch over to trends, and the importance of doing a treatment more for the long term than just following what's hot, what's the current trends. Can you talk a little bit more about why it's important to focus more on the long-term vision, not just what's hot on TikTok or Instagram?
Right. I think, explaining to them, to the clients and patients that, if we kind of stick forward with, the general treatment plan, that if, we don't have to get super crazy and that over time, wrinkles are going to fade away. And then you eventually kind of get to the point where you're doing it more preventatively just to keep things at bay. And that long term, that's just going to give you a better look and a better aesthetic look that you'll find, I think, a little bit more pleasing than just trying to kind of keep doing random things that may or may not work for you. Definitely trying to find what product works best for them. Some work really well for one product and they come in and say, I tried this product and it didn't work for me at all. So just making sure that, they understand what each product consists of and how they all work, and just working with them to try to just make sure that they understand that long-term consistency is what's going to be the biggest key, and not kind of jumping on these fads.
Got it. Okay, good to know. Now, I want to talk about common misconceptions and myths. I'm sure that you've heard a lot of myths that your clients believe that's just simply not true, or misconceptions that they have. What are some of those most common misconceptions or myths that you hear all the time?
Well, that's a good question. Honestly, I don't know if I have had too many people kind of ask about it. I think one of the misconceptions is that they, think it's going to fix things that may not be the best thing for them to use to try to fix that. More so kind of with jowls, like, oh, we can, do a lift up on that side. I'm like, well, yeah, or it's going to maybe work a little bit, but a lot of that is especially for those that are using kind of the weight loss therapy and they're starting to kind of get the saggy skin and the jowls. I'm like, toxin really isn't going to do much for you. You're looking at different products, different treatment, maybe some filler, maybe rebuilding of your collagen, and those are all different things that you got to work on. And so again, since I kind of work more so with the neurotoxins, most of that's kind of what I have to just kind of let them know. Other myths, I guess, a lot of times it's just trying to let them know that, certain areas, especially if they're trying to like, well, I've got really baggy eyes or, hooded eyes, and letting them know that, we can try to lift the brows, but if you already have some baggy eyes, toxin's not going to fix that. It's not an all fixing type of thing for the face at this point, so I have to let them know that, like, it's, if you have some hooded eyes already, I can inject you, but it's not going to really take care of it, because now you're going to be losing some muscle and you're going to be sitting there thinking, well, now the neurotoxin caused more of an issue. Well, you can't just lift your eyes up how you normally do. And so just letting them know that, that again, yeah, just with neurotoxins, it's whatever it is, it's you just got to make sure it's appropriate and make sure that they just understand kind of the science, everything behind it, and why it may not work for that specific myth. But like I said, I honestly have a lot of new clients, so they really don't know a whole lot. And so, here out in kind of in the Midwest, it's getting more popular. And so a lot of them, when I do ask, what have you heard? What are kind of the myths and stuff like that? It's uh, usually they're just like, well, I don't know. I'm just kind of curious. So I spend my time kind of educating. I think one of the biggest things that I always refer to is like, I go, well, what you see on the movies as far as when people get neurotoxin and their face is completely frozen, I'm like, that's not how we're going to get you to look. I'm like, because one, it doesn't kick in within an hour. We got to wait 2 weeks for everything to fully set in. I'm like, if you look like that at the end, I go, then you've been injected in places you shouldn't be injected. And so letting them know kind of more of just what they've seen in TV and movies, that what they see is usually not a true depiction of what neurotoxin can do for them.
Got it. Okay. Now, let's say that someone is looking to get some type of aesthetic treatment done, but doesn't know who to go to, doesn't know which provider to go to.
Yep.
If you were to give this person some advice, what advice would you give them so they can find someone that's knowledgeable, that experienced, and who's going to really get them the end result that they're looking for?
Mm-hmm. Um, I think honestly, just making sure you know what their goals are. And if they're looking for a treatment option that I don't currently provide, I know quite a few med spas here in town that have really good reputations. And so I just want I'll refer them to them, if they need right now some filler, some lasers or something more for complexion and stuff like that. I'm happy to send them to a couple different places here in town that I know do really good work. I just want them, to send them to a place that I know that the staff and providers are honest about giving them the correct recommendations to help them reach their goals. And so letting them know kind of, what I know as far as the treatments that I don't provide, making sure that, I can kind of give them a little bit of guidance before they would go and talk to them. So that way they kind of know what to kind of expect. And, if they're looking for, more of a lift or something, or they want, some filler done, what to kind of expect with that. Like I said, right now don't offer that just because I'm just trying to get really good at one thing, then keep bringing some things on. So I'm not overdoing it myself since I am the only provider there, or with my office and clinic here. So just making sure that they get referred to the right spot, so that way they can have a good discussion and just have an honest discussion with those providers to make sure that they get the treatment and the goals that they want accomplished.
Got it. Okay. Now, I'm curious, Zach, what role do you believe having an artist, or how important is it to have an artistic eye in what you do? Because I know you come from a very strong background in medicine. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people think about artistry when it comes to medicine, but how important do you think it is to have an artistic eye in what you do?
Oh, extremely important. And that's one area that I'm still, working on and growing on and learning. I don't, I feel like just, women in general, with them putting makeup on, like they have a really good artistic eye of what they want accomplished and how to kind of, do the fake, the shading and stuff like that to get a certain look. Same thing with makeup and stuff. Same thing with, the with toxin, making sure that you're getting everything kind of equally balanced out. That's one of the reasons with filler that's just taken me a while is because I'm just trying to build up that aesthetic eye and understanding the symmetry of everything and understanding what you do and how that's going to affect and shape that symmetry over with doing filler and stuff like that, and making sure that you're putting things in the correct spot. So being able to look at a face and kind of really see what needs to be done is, I mean, truly an art form. I mean, those that can do it really well, with years of experience, it's quite impressive what they can do. And I didn't, coming into this, didn't realize how much of an artistic eye it really did take to kind of look at a face, because everybody's obviously different. And so being able to look at each individual face and then walking them through, what you think should be done and having that consultation with them to make sure that they understand why we're doing what we're doing, is very important. So yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of time and effort, and having that artistic eye really does play a role in, especially when you're starting to add in the filler where you're changing the, a little bit of symmetry, you're adding stuff here and making sure that everything looks equally and balanced and symmetrical. Because at the end, that's what the client wants. And, it's our role to make sure that we're really good at doing that and helping them through that process.
Got it. Okay. Now, Zach, I'm sure that throughout your experience, you've had some memorable cases or maybe even challenging cases. Is there
Mhm.
maybe one story that you can share of one of those cases that comes to mind and how you were able to get them a great outcome in the end?
Mhm. So far with kind of my neurotoxin, most of my clients are pretty basic injections. I do have a couple that do like a lot of work done and just kind of getting them through that process. Uh, the biggest kind of complication, that I've seen so far is just more of that spot brow where, the one brow does not settle down well. And getting comfortable with that, just knowing that, hey, it's a little bit of a side effect that, maybe some product didn't set in well, or we just need to come back and add that. And talking them through that process that everything will, over 2 weeks, we've got to, wait for that 2 weeks. And so I've had a few of those where I just kind of reassure them that if this does happen, one, you just got to let me know and we can come back and add some more to it. And within a few days, that should dissipate away. And so I've had, good success with that. I've had, a couple clients where it's kind of like a 50-50. I inject honestly the same spots on them every time. And sometimes we get it and sometimes we don't. So they've kind of become accustomed to just knowing that, look, this isn't that big of a deal. Get in, just get another couple units right where that muscle is still active, and we can soften that out and make it equal to the other side. So that's kind of the biggest thing that I've kind of done. And then as far as other complications, it's just, yeah, more so just making sure that we've got enough product where it needs to be. And so, really haven't had a whole lot as far as that go, which is good. I'm very meticulous in making sure that I'm, staying within my safe zones and, staying away from any problem areas that could potentially cause complications. And so I just try to be as the safe injector as I can.
Got it. Okay. And where do you think the future of aesthetics is going, Zach?
Oh man, it seems to just continue to grow. Just when I think I have kind of dug into this, everything, I feel like more stuff is kind of coming out. The machines and the lasers are being upgraded and kind of changed or added to do more things for patients and give them more options to kind of help with their skin, their complexity, wrinkling, aging spots and all of that. So I feel like it's right now it's kind of hard to just keep up sometimes. But I think it's becoming more normalized. People are a lot more comfortable kind of talking about it. I feel like there's, just even with neurotoxin, always been kind of this negative connotation with it. And that seems to kind of be going away, which is really cool to see. More people are willing to kind of try it and see how it can help. Obviously, with, fillers and stuff like that, there's a lot of things that, each company has that can offer clients. The one that I'm really interested in is the Radius, which can help kind of rebuild the collagen and elastin, and so kind of getting that filler component to it, but also getting a little bit extra on the back end as that stuff settles in and actually helps kind of rebuild maybe what you lost over time.
Mhm.
So that stuff's really cool to just kind of see where they're moving with different products and stuff that they're doing and changing to just kind of help rebuild what we lose over time. So, I mean, I just feel like it's going to continue to grow, continue to just advance and just keep off, continue to offer clients so many more options just to kind of help with their aesthetic look and their skin.
Got it. Okay. And with that in mind, what is your vision for Edge's Medical Spa?
Our vision with that is to just right now we're just kind of in a slow growing phase, which we're fine with. Again, since it's just kind of a side business. As
Mhm.
our goal is just to kind of continue to add things here and there as I get more comfortable and continue to just grow and just add that on. the eventual goal would be, hopefully to have, a brick and mortar. We have a little 10 by 20 med suite right now. And so to the point where I, have some staff and have some more providers on board, that would be the eventual end goal. And then with that would be hopefully for me to kind of slowly maybe transition out of the hospital setting. I work with the heart, and that's still one of my favorite things to do. So I don't know if I'm ever going to get away from that. But just get to the point where like I can have a good solid business, have a good reputation. That's really what we're trying to build up here is just, honest, truthful service to all my patients and clients, not pushing them into something that they don't need. And then just, again, continuing to add on more services as we go and doing that in a way that we can hopefully try to remain fairly debt free is the biggest component. Is I don't want to jump into something. I've seen too many times where people open up a store or, a building, and then within the year they're closing down because the costs are too much. So just trying to make sure we're being smart about how we're moving forward in the most financially responsible way that we can.
Got it. Okay, fantastic. Well, Zach, I have one last question for you, but before I ask, I do want to point people to your website at etchedmedical.glossgenius.com. Now, last question is, what does beauty mean to you?
Beauty, I think, means just, it's different for everybody. Everybody's got their own definition of what beauty is. What might work for one person may not work for the other person. And so just, again, keeping it individualized as much as I can for my treatments with them to make sure that I'm helping them meet their goals and just feeling comfortable and confident in their own body, in their own skin.
Awesome. Well, there you have it. Zach showing his expertise. So, Zach, where can people contact you and your practice?
And so we should be able to be found on Google, and we've got our information there. We've got our Instagram account as well that's hooked up where they can go online and book there. The number that we've got attached to any of that stuff goes directly to my wife, who is kind of my marketer, all the behind the scenes scheduling, patient follow-ups and all of that stuff for me. So she's a great person to contact to help us out with all that stuff. And I'm here to obviously answer any questions that they may have if she can't answer them. Otherwise, we just get set up with a consultation to meet and go from there.
Awesome. Well, Zach, this is awesome. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for sharing your message.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks for listening to the Beauty Talk podcast. Any questions, please contact the practice directly with the contact information provided during the show. We'll see you again next time. Bye for now.